live in. It's still 9 on this live in. But
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. In consideration of others, please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the ceremony. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Drill Sergeant Leader Call, your Master of Ceremony. We would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, families, and friends to the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy graduation ceremonies for Class 007 and 008-26. Since 1964, drill sergeants have been the cornerstone of training our Army's volunteer force. Fort Jackson, home to the Army's only Drill Sergeant Academy, provides drill sergeants to every training center across the initial military training enterprise. The mission of the United States Army Drill Sergeant Program is simple, but profound. Transform non-commissioned officers into drill sergeants, who will then transform civilians into soldiers. A drill sergeant is a trainer, coach, and leader. The role is demanding and requires personal sacrifice, but it is essential to build the future of our Army. Those graduating today will spend the next 2 to 3 years on the trails. A phrase rooted in frontier cattle drives from California to Colorado, adopted by the first drill sergeants to describe the steady, disciplined movement of soldiers from one phase of training to the next. The drill sergeant course is stressful and challenging. Over 9 weeks, candidates complete 12-hour training days, totaling 446 hours of instruction. Only the top 10% of sergeants Army-wide are eligible to attend, and not all who begin this course finish it. On 18 February 2026, 233 candidates arrived. During training, 76 were removed for various reasons, and 31 were inserted, resulting in the 188 drill sergeants graduating today. These graduates represent disciplined, motivated, physically fit leaders who embody the drill sergeant creed. All 188 graduated drill sergeants stand as proud examples of our Army. They will now take on the immense responsibility of transforming the next generation of volunteers into soldiers capable of defeating any enemy on today's modern battlefield. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the United States Army's newest drill sergeants. 5th Platoon is led by Senior Drill Sergeant Leader Wilson. Sixth Platoon is led by Senior Drill Sergeant Myers. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and invocation given by Chaplain Dow, the playing of our national anthem.
Good morning. I invite you to bow your heads and pray with me. Almighty God, as this esteemed group departs from this place with gratitude and joy, I ask you to refine them and to transform them as leaders. They are now filled with new knowledge. they will need wisdom. They have honed their craft and become a part of something much larger than themselves. They will need vision, clarity, and courage. Each of these graduates will need your help to retain and apply lessons learned here for the good of the people we lead and for the nation we love and protect. Lord, as we are called upon for warfighting, please make us in equal measure humble, compassionate, and lethal. Above all, let the peace of your kingdom come to this earth and dwell within our hearts. I ask all this in your holy name.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the 33rd Commandant of the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy. Command Sergeant Major Joshua R. Bidle.
Good morning, Command Sergeant Major Wilson, distinguished guests, families, and friends. Thank you for joining us today for the Drill Sergeant Academy graduation ceremony for Class 007 and 00826. From the attendance today, it is clear these drill sergeants have amazing families and friends supporting them. What a great day to be a soldier. Even better day to be here, surrounded by the future of the United States Army, represented by the Army's newest drill sergeants. The fact that the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy is the gold standard for NCO development and cadre certification is clearly on display today. My name is Command Sergeant Major Josh Bidle, the Commandant, proudly serving alongside the most highly motivated and well-trained drill sergeants in the United States Army. A drill sergeant is the standard bearer for this Army and the very epitome of what we expect of a soldier. Drill sergeants are expected to live the Army values, exemplify the warrior ethos, and be guardians of the Army profession. Drill sergeants are responsible for coaching, teaching, motivating, inspiring, and mentoring the future of the Army as they transform them from civilians to combat-ready soldiers. A typical day as a drill sergeant starts before dawn, ends well after sundown. Drill sergeants are the first impression for every trainee and the only regulation they will read. Make no mistake, they will emulate you. If you're doing the right thing, they will want to be you. Being a drill sergeant is one of the most difficult jobs in our Army. It is also one of the most rewarding. How critical a drill sergeant is to our Army cannot be overstated, nor can the sacred trust that is being bestowed on you today. American families all across this great land entrust you with their most prized possession, their children. The future of the Army is being placed in your care for the most formative times in their Army careers. Your impact will last a lifetime. Just as you remember your drill sergeants, so will the soldiers you train remember you. Command Sergeant Major retired Roderick McCottrell and Sergeant First Class retired Ronnie Bush, if anybody was wondering who mine were. Will you be remembered for how you invested in them, believed in them when they didn't believe in themselves, always enforced the standard, and challenged them to keep going? Or will you be remembered for something else? Team, last week I was at the United States Army Recruiting Command Leaders Forum and Change Responsibility. As we walked out to take a photo, as we're apt to do when we gather together as a family, I walk out and I'm surrounded by 3, 2, 1-star generals, flanked by them. And last week, Fort Knox did its Junior Reserve Officer Training Candidate competition, best squad competition of the year. And so Fort Knox was full of JROTC cadets, and they were in numbers at the Pat Museum as we did our Leaders Forum. As I walked out, surrounded by these generals, I garnered the attention. Not because I was a Command Sergeant Major, or wore this belt, or even that I was the Commandant. It's because I wore this campaign hat. And everybody recognizes it. Everybody knows who you are when you wear this hat. You too will garner that attention. Generals will walk by, and trainees will look at you. Class 007 and 008-26, congratulations. Congratulations on accomplishing this daunting challenge. You met or exceeded every standard. You surmounted every obstacle. But the challenge is just beginning. Enjoy the time between now and when you report. Take time to reflect on the challenge that lies ahead of you and what you hope to achieve. There will be days when you are tired, hot, cold, hungry, and more. Look to your battle buddies during those times and spur one another on. Your experience as a drill sergeant will be directly impacted by the battle buddies you have and you are. The task is great. You are charged with nothing less than training tomorrow's leaders. The Army, the country, and the Constitution are depending on you. Today's guest speaker is very newly appointed Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Recruiting Command. I think he said day 4. No doubt going to take this command to its new heights. Help create a fourth generation pipeline that will deliver the most trained and lethal force that the Army has ever seen. His over 30 years in the United States Army have taken him all over the world and to many schools, the most important of which was, of course, Drill Sergeant School. The long list of assignments in numerous organizations demonstrate his exceptional performance, character, and stewardship of the profession. Please join me in welcoming Command Sergeant Major Joe Wilson.
Having a little flashbacks now to my time at the Drill Sergeant Academy. I went to Fort Leonard Wood. That's where we had the academy at my time, but it's good to be out here. So, good morning, Sergeant Major Biddle, Commander, Sergeant Majors, friends and family of the Drill Sergeant Academy in Fort Jackson. Today marks an important day in the careers of both the DSA graduates and the Army as we welcome them into a legacy that goes back to the 60s. I'd like to take a moment to just recognize the band, the chaplain, and all the soldiers behind the scenes that made this possible. So if we give them a round of applause. So, 23 years ago, I began my journey as a drill sergeant at Fort Leonard Wood, as a member of Delta Company 310. At the time, I didn't know how important this job a beat of myself and the many soldiers who I would train. There are many differences between I executed in the training today, but the goal is still the same. Take a civilian and turn them into a soldier. My personal basic training experience has evolved over the years. My experience with drill sergeants has changed. I arrived to Fort Benning, Georgia in November of 1994 and began basic training as a member of Bravo Company 254. I would say, looking back, my drill sergeants weren't necessarily the standard for multiple issues. One was clearly an alcoholic, and one was a bully, and one was just checked out. I was not impressed at all. They just went through the motions day in and day out. About 5 weeks into my training, a new drill sergeant arrived. Drill Sergeant Green changed my mind on what I thought of drill sergeants. He was tough, physically fit, and professional in everything he did. He took the time to explain things and achieve great results. He was the type of drill sergeant that inspired soldiers. My next experience was my own drill sergeant duty at Fort Leonard Wood. The caliber of the drill sergeant had improved greatly in those 8 years. Yes, we still had some drill sergeants who provided little value when it came to training, but there was no doubt about the overall increase in professionalism. My time as a drill sergeant not only developed me into an expert at my craft, but really developed my ability to solve problems and understand people. This would help me immensely in my future roles. I credit my time as a drill sergeant as the first role that would develop me as an officer. In 2012, fast forward a little bit, I sent my son off to basic training, back to Benning, in the same infantry battalion 254 where I had graduated many years ago. As you can imagine, I was very interested in the standards of training and the drill sergeants based on my experiences. My son had nothing negative to say, and the training and the instructors were phenomenal, a testament to the continued improvements in the selection and training of drill sergeants. Now, 14 years later, I have assumed responsibility for the entire force generation pipeline, from recruiting to arrival at the first unit of assignment. I could not be more excited to be your teammate in this endeavor. I see this as a full circle moment for me that allows to give something back that I am passionate about, initial entry training. As a drill sergeant, you are entrusted with the nation's most valuable resource, our sons and daughters. You should not take that responsibility lightly. I'd like to take a few moments to share my thoughts on the drill sergeant's role. You are about to step into a position where you will shape lives. How you do that matters. The role of the drill sergeant is clear. Create a soldier through the inculcation of the Army values, building a soldier's physical capacity, and training them on the basic knowledge and skills they will need to be successful with their first unit. The number way you do this is through action and demonstration. Don't be a sidewalk drill sergeant, as we would call it in my day. Don't be afraid to get your boots a little dirty. You must lead from the front in all training that you do. Don't talk about being an expert, demonstrate it daily. Some drill sergeants view their role as a gatekeeper, the line in the sand. The real role is that you are the leader who is charged with the responsibility to get that young man or woman to the finish line, to help them achieve their goals. Be the motivation to complete the mission. Don't give up on the task at hand. Not all trainees will make it through, but that should never be because we did not do our part. I'm here today because my life was changed by the Army, and it all started with a recruiter who gave me options and a drill sergeant who showed me my potential. I thank you for allowing me to speak here today. I really look forward to seeing you in action as I visit our training bases here in the future. I am jealous of the endeavor that you're about to go into. At times it will be tough, but at the end of every cycle, when you see your soldiers walk across the stage, you will feel a moment of pride that will carry you through this week. Thank you for all that you do and what you are about to. God bless. This will defend from vision to victory. Warrior Star.
At this time, the United States Army Drill Sergeant Academy would like to recognize the supporter of the cycle for their exceptional professionalism and dedication to excellence in support of the unit's total mission. Presenting the Supporter Award is Drill Sergeant Leader Figueroa. The supporter of the cycle is First Sergeant Retired McRae Natasha. Her behind-the-scenes contributions kept training on track with limited distractions. At the Drill Sergeant Academy, it is tradition to appropriately recognize those who distinguish themselves by their outstanding performance. In keeping with this tradition, the following awards are presented. The Drill Sergeant Leaders of the cycle are the Drill Sergeant Leaders who displayed the highest contribution to the entire platoon, created an impeccable learning environment, and displayed a standard for all graduating drill sergeants to follow. For class 007 and 008-26, the Drill Sergeant Leaders of the cycle are Drill Sergeant Leader Good Richard, Remy, 5th Platoon, and Drill Sergeant Leader Tyler Labatt, 6th Platoon. Please join me in a round of applause for the Drill Sergeant Leaders of the cycle. Please hold your applause and cheering until all awardees have been acknowledged. The Leadership Award is presented to the candidates who displayed the highest degree of professionalism and demonstrated sound judgment while performing in leadership positions. The Leadership Award recipients and members of the Commandant's list are Drill Sergeant Caleb Smith, 5th Platoon, and Drill Sergeant Brandon Brown, 6th Platoon. The Iron Drill Sergeant Award is given to the candidates who displayed the highest degree of physical fitness during the Army Fitness Test. The Iron Drill Sergeant Award recipients are Drill Sergeant Keith Pitts, 5th Platoon, with a score of 500. Drill Sergeant Hope Cruz, 5th Platoon, with a score of 491. Drill Sergeant Paolo Argueta, 6th Platoon, with a score of 492. The following drill sergeants exceeded course standards, demonstrated exceptional physical fitness, and maintained a grade point average in the top 20% of the graduating class. For 5th Platoon, the following names are members of the Commandant's list. Drill Sergeant Walter Bruno. Drill Sergeant Victor Ibarra. Drill Sergeant David Moreno. For 6th Platoon, the following names are members of the Commandant's list. Drill Sergeant Richard Favre. Drill Sergeant Juan Morente. Drill Sergeant Hugh Parker. After the ceremony, each awardee will receive a token for exceeding the standards while in the course. Please join me in a round of applause for all awardees. Drill sergeants, past and present, please stand for the reciting of the Drill Sergeant Creed.
I am a drill sergeant.
I will assist each individual in their efforts to become a highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mentally fit soldier, capable of defeating any enemy on today's modern battlefield. I will instill pride in all I trade, pride in self, in the Army, and in country. I will insist that each soldier needs to maintain
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Army song and departure of the official party.
March along, sing our song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. The army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For where we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
Graduates, stand in formation until the first family reaches the field. Awardees, please meet in front of the drill sergeant statue with your families to receive your awards and recognition. Drill sergeant leaders of the cycle will receive a token of recognition from First Command. Distinguished leader, award recipients will receive a token of recognition from Sergeant Artie Murphy, Club, Fort Jackson. This concludes today's Drill Sergeant Academy graduation ceremony.
This, well,